So today's recipe sounds horrible, barley gruel, but let's find out. Thanks for joining us today on 18th Century Cooking with James Townsend and Son. The recipe for today comes from John Nott's 1724 cookbook called the Cooks and Confectioners Dictionary. And it starts off with something pretty simple. He wants us to make barley water with 3 ounces of barley in a quart of water. So I'm gonna put this quart of water on the boil, and then we're gonna add in our 3 ounces of barley. He also talks about making sure that this water is, or that our barley is white. And if your barley is like my barley, you'll start boiling it and you'll get this kind of scum that comes up to the surface, and you'll wanna scum that, and you'll get maybe sort of a brown barley water out of it. And what he wants is the nice, cleaner water. So he talks about shifting the water once or twice. So once it's come up to the boil and sort of some of the scum has come up to the surface, we're gonna drain this off and put more water back in. Again, about a quart. We don't wanna put in too much more and let this boil. As it's boiling, we can add in our currants. He asks for about 4 ounces of currants in this situation. You could use raisins instead. Really, the currants aren't the important part of this, so a little less or more really isn't that important.
To get your barley nice and tender, you should boil it about an hour.
So our barley is basically done. It's ready to go. We need to let this cool, and we're gonna start making this other mixture that we're gonna add into it. So let me set this side to cool, and now let's work on our other mixture. We need 3 egg yolks. He calls for a half a pint. It may actually be 10 ounces of cream. Also some white wine. The same amount, also about a cup. Also some lemon zest. It's about a half a lemon peel that I zested up. Now our mixture is stirred up. I've got our gruel. I'm gonna go ahead, for the sake of mixing it up, I'm gonna put it into the mixing bowl, but we're gonna need to heat this up. So we'll put it back into a vessel we can heat with. You wanna make sure this is cool enough though, that it doesn't cook our eggs as we add this in. And you can tell by this time that the barley should have absorbed a lot of that water. It's not nearly as liquidy as it was in the beginning. Now that this is mixed up, we can put it back in our vessel here. We're gonna put it on a low heat. Make sure to stir it constantly until it starts to thicken. I've let this cool a little bit. The recipe says to sweeten to taste, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of sugar here and mix it in, and hopefully it's cool enough that I can try it out. Whoa, that's the best gruel I have ever had. This is really good. All the flavors are there. You get a little bit of the wine flavor up on top. If you want to use just a sparkling grape juice, you can get the same kind of flavors here that the wine's gonna give you, at least a little bit. And if you don't wanna use an alcohol. But you get all these different flavors coming in that we had with the little bit of spices, that little lemon in there, the sweetness. Also, the thickness of this custard is wonderful, and those little textures of the barley, and they've been cooked so long that they're very soft, just like a tapioca would be. And tapioca wasn't in the 18th century, at least in an English context. So this is probably as close as you're ever going to get to a tapioca pudding in the 18th century. Wonderful. If you get a chance to make up this barley gruel, you will enjoy it, I promise you. I want to thank you for coming along as we're experimenting, as we're savoring the flavors and the aromas of the 18th century.